Welcome back. Today we're diving into something a lot of you have asked about, the science behind keeping weight off. Not just losing it, but making it actually last. You guys sent over some really interesting research on weight loss maintenance. And honestly, it's a lot more complicated than I thought it would be. So get ready because we're going to figure out what really makes those pounds stay gone. And you might be surprised by what we find.
Yeah, some of this research really busts those common myths. It's a lot more nuanced than people think.
Yeah, so let's just get right to it. Okay, one of these studies says 80% of people gain all the weight back within 5 years. I mean, wow, that's kind of discouraging. Like, what makes it so hard to keep the weight off?
Well, one of the big things these studies show is it's not about demographics. You'd think like age or gender or even like relationship status would matter, but they don't really predict if someone's going to keep the weight off.
Oh, really? I always thought those things played a big role. Like, are you younger or older, single, married? I thought that mattered.
Yeah, a lot of people think so, but the research, it's saying something else. What's really interesting is it's not even about how much you exercised or what you ate before you lost the weight. It's more about what you do after. It's the changes you make, the ones you can actually stick with.
So it's little about who you were and more about the habits you build. I like that. Okay, so let's talk about those habits, those key changes that really make a difference.
One that pops up a lot is self-monitoring, like really keeping track of things. And we're talking daily, not just weekly weigh-ins or calorie counting. This research, it shows that constantly checking in with yourself, it helps you stay aware of what you're choosing, how you're doing.
Right, like staying accountable. Kind of like checking your bank balance so you don't overspend.
Exactly. There's this one study it found that people who logged their food every day, they were way more likely to keep the weight off than those who did it less often. It's like that constant reminder, these are my goals, these are my choices.
So it's not just about what you eat, but being mindful of those choices. Interesting. What other behaviors are important?
Okay, so this one's big, hitting your daily calorie goal. But it's not just any random number, okay? These studies, they say it's got to be personalized, something you figure out with a doctor or a dietitian, a number that makes sense for you.
So ditch those crazy fad diets and restrictions. It's more about finding what you can actually live with long term.
Yeah, exactly. They did this huge study, over 1,000 people, and the ones who consistently hit their calorie targets, those were the ones who kept the weight off. And it wasn't about starving themselves either. They focused on foods that were good for them and kept them feeling full and satisfied.
So quality over quantity, huh? What were some of those dietary changes that worked?
This one study, it found that people who ate a Mediterranean-style diet, lots of fruits and veggies, fiber, they were way more likely to keep the weight off long term.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's not about cutting out food groups or being super restrictive. It's about those good-for-you foods that you can enjoy.
Yeah, like think olive oil instead of butter, maybe fish a couple times a week instead of red meat, and always lots of fresh produce.
That actually sounds pretty good. Not like a diet at all. I can see why that would be easier to stick with. Okay, we got to talk about exercise too. What the studies say about that.
So, being active and keeping it up, that's another big one. And it doesn't have to be crazy workouts every day. It's about finding something you enjoy and doing it regularly.
Yeah, finding that balance between challenge and enjoyment, right? What kind of activities did they talk about?
Really depends on the person. Some studies looked at brisk walking, like 30 minutes a day. Others focused on strength training because it helps you build muscle.
So it's not just about burning calories during the workout. It's also about the muscle you build, which helps your metabolism in the long run.
Right, exactly. And I think what we're seeing here is it's not about quick fixes. It's about those habits, those lifestyle changes that you can keep doing.
Okay, so we've got the self-monitoring, managing those calories, the food choices, and the exercise. That's a lot. I bet your mindset, the mental game, has to be a big part of this too.
Oh, absolutely. And the research really emphasizes that. You got to have the right mindset to make it last. One of the big things they talk about is self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy. I'm going to be honest, I hear that word a lot, but I'm not always sure what it means. Can you break it down for me and for everyone listening?
Sure, think of it like believing you can do it, that you can keep the weight off. It's that confidence that helps you face those challenges, those times when you want to give up.
So it's like believing in yourself even when things get tough.
That's it. It's that inner strength that keeps you going. And the cool thing is, it's not something you're born with. You can build it up over time.
So how do we get that unshakable belief in ourselves? I bet our listeners want to know.
One way is by setting small goals, things you know you can do, and then celebrating when you reach them. Every time you stick to your plan, every workout you finish, every time you resist that temptation, it builds up that belief that you can do this.
So it's like building momentum, getting those wins, and it makes the bigger challenges seem less scary.
That's it. And those still successes, they fuel your belief and make you want to keep going.
I like that. It's not about being perfect. It's about focusing on those wins. Anything else that helps with self-efficacy.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one. Changing that negative self-talk. Don't beat yourself up when you slip up. Be kind to yourself. Focus on the positive things you're doing.
It's so easy to get down on yourself. But what you're saying is we need to be our own cheerleaders, right? Be supportive, be positive.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of having people around you who support you too. Family, friends, a therapist, even a support group. Having people who believe in you makes a huge difference.
Yeah, finding your people, the ones who get it. That's so important.
It is. Sharing your struggles, your successes with people who understand, it can really keep you going.
This is so helpful. I'm already starting to see weight loss maintenance differently. It's not just about restriction or willpower. It's about your mindset, about building a lifestyle that works for you.
Absolutely. It's about looking at the whole picture, taking care of yourself mentally and physically.
Now, I know you're really into the whole world of weight loss supplements, and we're doing a deep dive here. So I got to ask, what does the research say about them? Those miracle cures we see everywhere, do they really work?
That's a great question, and I think you'll be surprised by what the research actually says. Let's break down some of the most popular ones and see what's what.
Okay, let's do it. All right, let's start with one you mentioned in your notes. Green tea. It seems like it's everywhere these days. They say it's this weight loss miracle. But what does the science actually say?
Well, green tea, it does have these compounds, catechins they're called. One specifically, EGCG, it seems like it could be good for your metabolism.
Okay, so there's something there, scientifically. But I'm guessing it's not as simple as chugging green tea and the weight just disappears.
Yeah, you got to be careful with those big claims. Some studies, they show a little bit of weight loss, but others, nothing. It's not that magic bullet they make it out to be.
So no magical transformations from just sipping green tea. But how does it actually work? What do these catechins do?
That's where it gets interesting. So some studies suggest that EGCG, it might boost something called thermogenesis, which is basically how your body burns calories to produce heat. And it could also increase fat oxidation, meaning your body uses more fat for energy.
So it's more like giving your metabolism a little nudge, not some crazy fat melting effect.
Exactly. And the dose matters too. A lot of the studies, they used concentrated green tea extract, not just a regular cup of tea.
That makes sense, like using a spice to flavor your food versus eating a spoonful of it. So maybe a little benefit from drinking green tea, but don't expect miracles. What about other supplements people use for weight loss? Any evidence for those?
One that I found pretty interesting is whey protein.
Oh yeah, whey protein. A lot of gym people swear by it. But how does it actually help with weight?
So first of all, whey protein, it's a complete protein, has all those essential amino acids your body needs, but it's absorbed really fast, and that sets off a chain reaction that can help with weight loss.
Okay, like what kind of chain reaction?
Well, the research, it shows that whey protein makes you feel fuller, more satisfied after you eat, so you're less likely to overeat. It has to do with the hormones that control your appetite.
So it's not just for building muscle. It could actually help you stick to those calorie goals we talked about earlier by making you feel less hungry.
Exactly. And there's more. Whey protein, it also seems to boost your metabolism, meaning you burn more calories even when you're resting. And for people who work out, it helps with muscle growth and repair. That's important because when you lose weight, you don't want to lose muscle.
So it's like it helps you keep the muscle you have, which keeps your metabolism running better.
Right, exactly.
Wow, okay, it sounds like whey protein maybe has a bigger impact than green tea. Is that fair to say?
The evidence for whey protein is definitely stronger, but you got to be realistic. It's not a miracle cure. It's a tool that can help, but it's got to be part of a bigger plan.
Right, it all goes back to those healthy habits, those lifestyle changes. Speaking of things we rely on, I have to ask about coffee. Does that morning cup actually help with weight loss?
You and millions of others. And good news, there's some research that suggests coffee, well, the caffeine in it might actually help a bit.
Okay, tell me more. You got to justify that coffee habit.
So caffeine, it's a stimulant, right? It can temporarily boost your metabolism so you burn more calories, and it can also increase fat oxidation, the breakdown of fat for energy.
So my morning coffee could be giving my metabolism a little kick.
It's possible, but like any stimulant, the effects are temporary, and it really depends on the person. How much you usually drink, how sensitive you are to caffeine, all that.
Right, so not going to drop pounds by chugging coffee all day, but a moderate amount, as part of a healthy plan, it could help a little.
Yeah, that's the key. And it's got to be plain coffee, not those sugary concoctions. Black coffee, almost no calories. But all that sugar and cream, that's just going to work against you.
Back to healthy choices. So black coffee, or maybe just a little sweetener, if you got to have it. Okay, what about those fat-burning supplements? The ones that promise to melt fat away while you sleep. Too good to be true.
One that comes up a lot is conjugated linoleic acid, CLA they call it. It's a fatty acid. found naturally in some foods like meat and dairy.
I've seen CLA supplements at the store. What's the idea behind it? How's it supposed to burn fat?
Well, the research on CLA is pretty interesting but also complicated. Some studies, they show it might reduce body fat by messing with the enzymes that store fat, and it might increase fat breakdown. But other studies, they don't see much of an effect. And there's still debate about how much to take and if it's safe long term.
So another more research is needed situation. Seems like that's a common theme with these supplements. A lot of interesting theories, but not enough solid evidence.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got to be careful with the marketing hype. Those big promises, they don't always match the science. Remember, the real changes, they come from those lifestyle changes we talked about.
Right, building those healthy habits, not looking for quick fixes. Now, we talked about the mental game earlier, the importance of self-efficacy. Can you talk more about that?
Of course. So self-efficacy, it's like having that little voice in your head that says, you got this, you can keep the weight off. It's that confidence that helps you through the tough times, the times you want to give up.
So how do we get that confidence? Is it something you're born with, or can you build it up?
It's definitely something you can build. And one of the best ways is by setting small goals, things you know you can achieve, and then feeling good about those wins. Every time you stick to your plan, every workout, every time you say no to that temptation, it reinforces that belief that you can do this.
It's like building that mental muscle, right?
Exactly.
So setting realistic goals, those small wins, that's key. What else helps with self-efficacy?
Ugh, another big one. Changing that negative self-talk. When you slip up, don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself. Focus on what you're doing right.
Yeah, it's so easy to get down on yourself. But we need to be more positive, be our own cheerleaders, right?
Exactly. And don't forget about your support system. Friends, family, a therapist, even a weight loss support group. Having people who believe in you makes a huge difference.
Finding those people, the ones who get it, that's huge.
It is. Sharing your struggles, your successes, it helps you stay on track.
This is so helpful. I'm starting to see weight loss maintenance differently. It's not just about what you eat, it's about your whole mindset, your whole lifestyle.
I'm glad to hear that. It's about taking care of yourself inside and out.
Now, you mentioned emotional eating earlier. That's something I think a lot of us struggle with. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, emotional eating, it's a big one. And it's not just about willpower, it's deeper than that.
Right, it's not just about saying no to the chips when you're stressed.
It's about figuring out what your triggers are, those situations or emotions that make you want to eat, even when you're not really hungry, and then finding healthier ways to deal with those emotions.
So paying attention to how you're feeling and understanding why you reach for food in certain situations.
Exactly. Mindfulness practices like meditation or deep breathing, those can help you be more aware of your emotions, your body, even your hunger cues.
So instead of mindlessly snacking when I'm stressed, I can take a minute, breathe, and really ask myself, am I actually hungry or is this something else?
Exactly. Sometimes just acknowledging the emotion, letting yourself feel it, that can help too, instead of trying to push it down or numb it with food.
Yeah, it's like ride the wave of emotion instead of trying to bury it under a pile of cookies.
That's a great way to put it. And along with mindfulness, it's good to have other ways to cope, healthy things you can do instead of turning to food.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Oh, so many things. It really depends on the person, what works for them. Being active, spending time with people you care about, doing something creative, getting out in nature, listening to music, reading, taking a relaxing bath, anything that nourishes you without involving food.
I love that. It's about finding things that bring you joy, that make you feel good outside of food. Realizing that food is just one way to cope, but there are so many others.
Exactly. And if you're really struggling, it's always okay to ask for help. A therapist, a counselor, they can give you tools and support to deal with those deeper issues.
That's such an important point. It's okay to reach out for help, especially if you've tried everything else and it's just not working. Okay, so we've talked about emotional eating. Now, what about those metabolic adaptations you mentioned? What are those?
So metabolic adaptations, it's basically your body trying to protect itself. When you lose weight, your body thinks, hey, there's not enough food, gotta conserve energy, and it starts making changes to slow down your metabolism.
So it's like our bodies are working against us, trying to hold on to those calories, even when we're trying to lose them.
It's a survival mechanism, something that helped us survive in the past when food was scarce. But these days, when we're trying to lose weight, it can be a real challenge.
So how do these adaptations actually make it harder to keep the weight off?
Well, one of the main things is as you lose weight, your metabolism slows down, so you burn fewer calories at rest. Part of that is because you lose some muscle mass, which is very active, metabolically speaking.
So even if I'm eating the same amount I was before I lost the weight, I could start gaining it back because my body's burning calories more slowly.
That's exactly it. And on top of that, your body also gets better at storing fat.
It's like a double whammy. So what can we do about these adaptations? How do we keep the weight off for good?
There are a few things that can help. Exercise is super important, especially strength training, because it helps you build and maintain muscle mass, which boosts your metabolism.
So it's not just about burning calories during the workout, it's about the long-term benefits of having more muscle.
Exactly. And eating enough protein is also important. It helps you feel full, and it also takes more energy for your body to digest protein compared to carbs or fats.
So those healthy choices, again, lean protein, lots of fruits and veggies, those are key.
Absolutely. And fiber is also important. It makes you feel full, keeps your blood sugar stable, and it can even prevent those energy crashes that make you want to eat everything in sight.
It's all about balance, finding a way of eating that's good for you and that you can stick with. No crazy diets needed.
You got it. And remember, weight loss maintenance, it's not just about the physical stuff, it's about your mindset too, those things you talked about earlier.
Right, the self-efficacy, the positive self-talk, dealing with emotional eating, it's all connected.
It is, and that brings us to supplements. They're often marketed as quick fixes, but the research is a bit more complicated.
Okay, let's talk supplements. You got a whole source here that analyzes a bunch of them. Which ones are worth considering? And which ones should we be wary of?
Let's start with one that's often touted for boosting metabolism and energy, pyruvate.
Pyruvate, that's a new one for me. What is it and how does it supposedly work?
So pyruvate, it's a natural compound. It's involved in how our cells make energy. It's basically a byproduct of glucose metabolism, how our bodies break down sugar for energy.
Okay, so how does it help with weight loss?
The idea is that if you increase pyruvate levels, it could maybe boost your metabolism and help you burn more fat.
Sounds promising, but does it actually work?
Well, the research is a bit iffy on this one. Some studies show a little bit of weight loss, but others not so much. Not a lot of strong evidence to back up the claims.
Another one of those more research-needed situations. It seems like that's a common theme with a lot of these supplements.
It's true. You got to be careful with those big claims. Always good to stick with those evidence-based lifestyle changes we've been talking about. Now, how about another one? Diacylglycerol, or DAG for short.
DAG, okay, I've never heard of that one. How's that supposed to work?
So DAG, it's a type of fat, but it's different from the triglycerides we usually eat. The idea is that it's absorbed and processed differently by the body, which could lead to weight loss.
Okay, tell me more about this special fat.
Well, that research suggests that DAG might not be absorbed as well by our intestines compared to triglycerides, so fewer calories get stored as fat. And it might also be burned for energy more easily.
So it's like it reduces calorie absorption and boosts fat burning. Sounds pretty impressive.
It does, right? And some studies even suggest it could have other benefits too, like improving cholesterol levels and reducing visceral fat, the kind of fat that's stored around your organs, which is really bad for you.
Wow, so it could help with weight and also be good for your heart. What's the evidence like?
The research is still kind of limited, but some studies do show some good results. Some found that replacing some of the regular fat in your diet with DAG, it led to a little bit of weight loss and fat loss. And like you mentioned, some studies show it could be especially good at reducing visceral fat.
So more research is needed, but it sounds like DAG could be helpful for weight management.
Exactly. But like any supplement, you got to be realistic, don't expect miracles, and always talk to a doctor first, just to be safe.
That's a good reminder. It's easy to get excited about these things, but safety first. Okay, so what about licorice? I know you mentioned that one. I got to be honest, I'm a bit skeptical about that one. The candy?
No, no, not the candy. Licorice root, it's been used in traditional medicine for a long time for various things, and now some research is looking at whether it could help with weight.
Okay, so the root, not the candy. Got it. But how is licorice root supposed to help with weight loss?
So licorice, it has this compound called glycyrrhizin, and some research suggests it could help by blocking those enzymes that store fat, and maybe even by reducing inflammation, which can contribute to weight gain.
So it's like attacking fat from a few different angles.
Exactly. And some studies, they show that licorice extract can lead to a little bit of weight loss, a lower BMI, and a smaller waist circumference.
Okay, so there is some evidence to support it, but, not all licorice is created equal, right? I've read there can be some side effects.
You're right, you got to be careful with licorice. Too much of it, especially the kind with glycyrrhizin, it can cause problems like high blood pressure, low potassium, even heart issues.
Wow, so definitely something to be cautious about.
Absolutely, it's not something to mess around with on your own. And it can interact with some medications too, so always talk to your doctor first.
Good advice. Natural doesn't always mean safe, right? Even those herbal supplements can have powerful effects.
Exactly. Now, another one you might have heard of, it's often marketed as a fat burner, bitter orange.
Bitter orange, I've seen that advertised as a thermogenic supplement, the kind that's supposed to rub up your metabolism. But I have a feeling there's more to it than that.
You're right to be cautious. Bitter orange, it contains a compound called synephrine, which is similar to ephedrine. That was a stimulant they used to put in weight loss supplements, but the FDA banned it because it was linked to some serious heart problems.
Yeah, ephedrine, I remember that. Heart attacks, strokes, scary stuff. So is bitter orange a safer option?
That's the question, and it's not an easy answer. Synephrine, it is similar to ephedrine, but it's thought to be weaker. Still, there are concerns about it raising your heart rate and blood pressure.
So another one to be careful with, especially if you have any health conditions.
Absolutely. And while some small studies suggest it might help with weight loss by increasing metabolism, we need more research to know for sure if it's safe and effective.
The theme continues. Promising potential, but not enough research and potential risks.
Exactly. You got to be skeptical, even with those natural fat burners. Focus on the lifestyle changes, those are the foundation.
Right. It's about building a sustainable, healthy approach, not looking for quick fixes. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about supplements that are marketed for fat burning. What about supplements that focus on improving how your body processes sugar, glucose metabolism?
That's a great question. You know, those kinds of supplements, they often get overlooked in weight loss conversations, but they can be really important for overall metabolic health, which is key for keeping the weight off long term.
Okay, I'm interested. Tell me more about them.
So glucose, it's blood sugar, right? It's what our bodies use for energy. When we eat carbs, they're broken down into glucose, which goes into our bloodstream.
Yeah, that's why you get that sugar rush after eating sweets or starchy foods.
Exactly. And if our bodies don't handle that glucose well, it can lead to all sorts of problems. Insulin resistance, weight gain, even type 2 diabetes.
So these supplements, they're about helping our bodies process sugar more efficiently.
Right. When your blood sugar is stable, you have more energy, you're less likely to store that extra glucose as fat, and you have fewer cravings.
Makes sense. So which supplements are we talking about?
One that's well known is chromium. It's a mineral that helps insulin work better.
Insulin, that's the hormone that helps your body use glucose, right?
Yep, exactly. Insulin is like a key that unlocks your cells so glucose can get in and be used for energy. And chromium, it's like oiling that key, making sure it works smoothly. So when insulin is working well, your blood sugar stays balanced, you have more steady energy, and you're less likely to store fat.
I like that analogy. So chromium could help prevent those blood sugar spikes, reduce cravings, and ultimately help with weight management.
That's the idea. And some studies, they actually show that chromium supplements can lead to a little bit of weight loss, less body fat, and a smaller waistline.
Sounds promising, but you said earlier that the research is mixed. Not all studies show a benefit.
Yeah, that's true. Some studies show good things, but others not so much.
More research is needed. It's the story of our lives. What about other supplements that could help with glucose metabolism?
Another one that's getting attention is alpha-lipoic acid, or ALA for short. It's a powerful antioxidant. Our bodies make it naturally, and it is also found in some foods like spinach and broccoli.
Okay, I know antioxidants are good for you. They protect your cells. But how does ALA help with glucose?
ALA, it actually does a few things. It helps those enzymes that break down glucose work better. It improves insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells respond better to insulin. And it's a powerful antioxidant, which is important because oxidative stress is often a problem in people with metabolic issues like type 2 diabetes.
So it's like a multitasker, improving how your body uses glucose and protecting your cells. That's pretty impressive.
It is promising, and some studies show it can help control blood sugar, improve insulin sensitivity, and even lead to some weight loss and a smaller waistline.
Wow, okay. But I'm guessing there are some things to be aware of, right? Side effects, maybe?
You're right, we need more research to know for sure about the long-term effects and the right dose. And there can be side effects like upset stomach, skin rashes, and it can interact with some medications.
So talk to your doctor before you start taking it, especially if you have any other health issues or you're on any meds.
Exactly. Always play it safe.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of supplements today, some for fat burning, some for glucose metabolism. It seems like the takeaway is there's no magic bullet, and supplements are not a replacement for those healthy habits we talked about earlier.
You got it. Supplements, they can be a helpful tool, but they're not a quick fix. Those real lasting changes, they come from the things we've been talking about this whole time. Eating right, moving your body, having a healthy mindset, and taking care of yourself.
Right, it's about building a sustainable, healthy lifestyle that works for you.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself, making informed choices, and realizing that this is a journey, not a destination.
Well said. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, explored a lot of different aspects of weight loss maintenance. But before we wrap up, I'm curious about something you mentioned earlier. You said that most of the research focuses on people under 65. What about older adults? How do these strategies differ for them?
That's a great question, and one that needs more research for sure. As we get older, our bodies change, right? Metabolism slows down, we naturally lose some muscle mass and bone density.
So it could be harder to lose weight and keep it off as we get older.
It's definitely possible. And then there are other factors to consider too, like hormonal changes, changes in how our bodies regulate appetite, even just becoming less mobile. All of these things can affect how we respond to weight loss strategies.
Right, so what works for someone younger might not work for someone older. It's not one size fits all.
Exactly. And for older adults, weight loss might not even be the main goal. It might be more important to focus on maintaining muscle mass, keeping their bones strong, and just staying active and healthy overall.
Yeah, it's about more than just the number on the scale. It's about feeling good, being able to do the things you enjoy.
That's it. So those basic principles, eating a balanced diet, being active, having a positive mindset, those are still important, but the specific strategies might need to be adjusted for older adults.
So it's really important for older adults to talk to their doctor before they make any big changes to their diet or exercise routine, or before they start taking any supplements.
Absolutely. Their doctor can help them create a plan that's safe and effective for them.
This has been such a great conversation. I feel like I've learned so much about weight loss maintenance. It's not just about willpower or finding the perfect diet. It's about making changes you can live with, taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally, and understanding that it's a lifelong journey.
I'm glad you found it helpful. It's been great discussing this research with you, and I hope our listeners feel inspired to keep going on their own journals.
Well said. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into weight loss maintenance. We hope you learned some valuable things today. Remember, change takes time, so be patient with yourselves, celebrate your successes, and never stop learning and growing.
And don't forget, you are capable of achieving your goals. Believe in yourselves, ask for support when you need it, and keep striving for a healthier, happier you.
That's a perfect way to end this. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay well. Okay, so we talk about emotional eating, those metabolic changes our bodies go through, even all those supplements people try. But before we finish up this deep dive, I got to ask about something you mentioned before. Most of this research, it's on adults under 65. What about when you get older? Does weight loss maintenance work differently?
That's a really good question. And honestly, we need more research on that because as we age, our bodies change, right? Like our metabolism naturally slows down, we lose some muscle, our bones can get weaker.
So it's probably harder to lose weight and keep it off when you're older.
It could be, yeah. And there are other things that change too, like our hormones, how our bodies regulate hunger, even just how much we can move around. All that can affect how well weight loss strategies work.
Right, so what works for someone younger might not work the same for someone older.
Exactly. And, for older adults, sometimes weight loss might not even be the main goal. It might be more about holding on to that muscle mass, keeping their bones strong, and just staying healthy and active overall.
Yeah, it's not just about the number on the scale. It's about how you feel, being able to do the things you want to do.
Exactly. So those basics we talked about, like eating right, exercising, having a good mindset, those are still important. But how you do those things, the specific strategies, they might need to be adjusted for older adults.
So if you're older and thinking about making changes, definitely talk to your doctor first, right?
Absolutely. They can help figure out what's safe and what's going to work best for you.
This has been so interesting. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of this whole weight loss maintenance thing. It's not just about willpower or finding some magical diet. It's about those lifestyle changes, taking care of yourself both mentally and physically, and realizing it's an ongoing thing, not just a quick fix.
I'm really glad to hear that. It's been great talking about this research with you, and I hope everyone listening feels encouraged to keep going on their own journeys.
Me too. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into weight loss maintenance. We hope you found it helpful. Remember, be patient with yourself. Those changes take time, and celebrate every little win, and never stop learning and growing.
And never forget you can do this. Believe in yourself, reach out for support when you need it, and keep working towards a healthier, happier you.